Welcome to Solution Focused World. Today we're having a chat with Dr. Russell Sabella. And Russ, how would you like to be introduced?
I've been a school counselor. Actually, I worked in mental health before that, and been in higher ed teaching school counseling for about 27 years. Really focused on comprehensive school counseling programs, peer helper programs. A few other areas that I've worked a great deal in are things like cyberbullying and digital reputation, helping kids, navigate and use technology responsibly. And helping counselors use technology to increase their productivity.
And why Solution Focused Brief Counseling?
If you look at all my work, the theme has been empowerment. To me, that's that autonomy and that freedom. And I think, as compared to a lot of the other approaches for change, and these are not just counseling models, these are approaches to change, to empower people. For me, the solution focused model stood out among all of the others: CBT, REBT, ACT, DBT, all the alphabet soup kinds of approaches. For me, this was very straightforward. It was elegant. It looked simplistic, but yet, as you know, it actually can be quite sophisticated. And I just really believe in people's potential to be able to focus on the small percent, perhaps in the lives of some kids and families who are really having some troubles, and then build on that. So I like the way that this model helps people build on what they're already doing well. And I like that it doesn't come with some of the baggage that we have to endure when we have to really explore problems, issues, and deficits and causes, and now knowing that you can actually get better and get more on track without ever even understanding that stuff. All of the areas of school counseling, everything from peer helping to classroom lessons, small groups, teacher consultations, working with parents, leadership, organizational development, all of that. I mean, this is a model that I think has applications for so many things.
Do you use solution focused thinking in your own life?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, I want to say I've been lucky, but I've been quite successful with all the different areas of my work, and I really do attribute it to solution-focused thinking. So rather than kind of sitting here and really trying to admire all of the challenges and barriers and things that get in the way of my goals, I sit down and I say, okay, well, exceptions. When was I doing this a little bit better? And then I go to hypotheticals. And so what will this look like for me? What will I be doing and thinking when it is I'm 10% better? And it works. And I think, to me, by the way, that's the ultimate.
What are the three most important things people should master as they learn to use solution focused thinking?
I think the first one is the beliefs and the assumptions. If you truly don't believe that people can get better without ever truly understanding what caused them to derail in the first place, this model is not going to work for you. If you believe that people's performance fluctuates and that the clues for getting them better are in those fluctuations, that some days are better than others, I think if you don't believe that, you're going to have problems with it. So one of the beginnings is to just really embrace some of the assumptions and beliefs for moving forward. Secondly, I think reframing. People come to us with complaints and wishes that other people will change, and being able to empathize with that, truly listen to that, but then eventually start to refocus or reframe more towards what it is they want to have happen. I call it kind of moving from complaints to control. I think that takes practice as well. And then I think thirdly, and it's probably not special to the solution focused model, but just working with kids and families that are having challenges, it's really to do all the basics, to be able to focus on feelings, focus on thoughts and behaviors, get a good pace going, really get that rhythm going, meeting those kids where they are, whether it's their language or their abilities or whatever else. And so I think that's kind of common throughout all of the models. And I would probably add to that, probably the other mastery is really settling on those goals that meet those criteria, that those goals have to be in the kid's control. They have to be detailed, and they have to be in the presence of an action. So getting them to do something more rather than doing something less. All of those things take practice.
Everyone brings previous experiences into what they do. Did you have one specific theoretical approach before solution focus, and how did it influence your current application?
Like a lot of people in education, whether it's classroom management or doing functional behavior analyses, I kind of grew up on behaviorism. So I was into, looking at reinforcements and reinforcement schedules and conditioned stimuli and all this, putting together behavior modification plans. And I also, then I eventually got to know choice theory, Dr. William Glasser and all those people. And I really like that because that to me started I was really attracted to empowerment. So this was a kind of a first model that helped me to understand that, people do have choices. And then I read Michelle Weiner Davis and William O'Hanlon's book, In Search of Solutions. This was in the 90s, probably. And that was a real eye opener for me. I thought, wow, this even takes choice theory to the next level. I was a school counselor. I was busy. I was also in my doc program, so I was dissertating, and I didn't really dedicate myself to practicing that. But then I went to the University of Louisville for my first professor job, and I met Jerry Scolaire. Jerry has a wonderful solution-focused book, has many years of practice. And so his interest in solution focus really woke me up and revived my initial interest. And we had fun together. I was there for 4 years. So at the time, solution focus was not really being talked about for school counseling. It was more mental health, substance abuse, marriage, and family. And so we had fun just kind of figuring it out. How does this model work with kids? How does it work within a school system? Linda Metcalf at the time was also kind of parallel doing some of the work. And so here we are, almost 30 years later. I think probably Bill Glasser did not get enough credit for being solution focused. He and I, when he was alive in his later years, were on the same speaking circuit. So I got to talk to him. And at one point I asked him, I'd watched some videos that he did, some demonstration videos that were, some of his final ones. And I was really struck by how solution focused it was. So I asked him, I said, have you been influenced by the solution focused model in more recent years? And he kind of grinned, and if you've ever met him, he's kind of a Mr. Rogers type, but very humbly said, you probably ought to go back and read my original book, but I guess it was Control Theory back in the 60s. And I did, and I went back and I read it again, and with a new lens. And son of a gun, he was very solution focused back then in the 60s. And so what I realized was that that's probably the two most consistent, highly compatible models. In fact, in my book, I've got a whole chapter I call mashups, how to do solution focused choice, how to pivot from behaviorism to solution focus. So I think these things go really well together.
What fields beyond counseling do you feel best aligned with solution focused thinking?
When I guess here's a quick story. When I was elected as president of the American School Counselor Association, and this was 20 years ago, I really tried to prepare myself. So I read every leadership and organizational development book that I could find at the time. And it really again struck me just how they were solution focused. And so what I realized at the time was that this is a model that works well in industry, and no matter what industry you're in. If you're a leader, if you're developing and building an organization, if you're responsible for getting people together and working in that way, this is a great model for you. Now, what I realized in the last few years is that they actually, business and industry actually took the model and gave it a new name. It's called appreciative inquiry. It's what they call solution focused in the world of business and leadership. And I write about this in my book, solution focused leadership, conflict resolution. I think it really applies to any place and any person that wants to influence change, going from point A to point B. And that really, that parenting, I got to tell you, I think my kids, their first word was either mom or dad, depending on who you ask. But I know their second word was instead, because I kept saying it. When is it that you finish doing that? What do you think we're going to do? Or, I want you to do this instead. And so I was constantly refocusing and reframing. It's just about influencing and helping others, empowering others to change.
Were there any moments when you felt solution focused brief counseling wasn't working for you?
Sure, absolutely. I'll say two things about that. It's not 100%. It's not a panacea. Some kids, no matter what you do, and even if they continue to get worse, and you believe them, their teachers and parents are saying they're getting worse. And even when it is you try to go back to last week. So last week you were doing better. What were you doing then that you're not doing now? We try all the solution focused techniques. They need more. And so I don't think we can be so arrogant to think that just one person doing individual counseling sometimes is all they need. So sometimes they need a mentor. Sometimes they need other professionals. Sometimes they need to be in a small group. So in other words, tier 2 and tier 3 kinds of interventions, more comprehensive, more collaborative. Sometimes that happens. Let's see. The other thing I want to say too, though, is there were many times where I especially in the early days when I was still kind of new at it, when it is that I would be doing this, and I just got a sense that it wasn't working. And as it turns out, this is not a quick fix. I mean, even though it's solution-focused brief counseling, it's really not a quick fix. What I've learned over the years is to don't abandon the model at the first sign that maybe you're not getting what you want. And obviously, this is not about what the counselor wants; it's about what the student wants. And so, I tell my students, stick with the model, stick with it, have faith in it. Also involve as many stakeholders as you can. So I call it putting out a bolo. So when we talk to teachers, I want them to be on the lookout. When parents, be on the lookout. So any sign that you think that this kid is doing well, I need to know that. And then I'm going to ask you, teacher and parent, what do you think you did to help make that happen, as well as asking the kid. And so when we do all that, chances go up that it's going to work out really well. But it's not 100%. And so we've got to have other ways to go about it. One of the things I like to do, make sure I do, is include rationally motive behavior. So the thinking, the stinking thinking. And I do that in a solution-focused way. So instead of saying, how is it that you're being irrational or illogical or unrealistic, I'm saying that on your better days, when you're telling yourself things that help you, and you are being more realistic and rational and logical, what are you telling yourself? And let's flip the script. Rather than waiting for things to get better, to have those kinds of chats with yourself, do that kind of self-talk first, and then things will get better.
If you had to come up with an advertising campaign for solution-focused brief therapy, what would your slogan be?
Flip the script. I mean, to me, that's really one of the wonderful, fun things about being solution focused. Things are correlational. It's not that I'm feeling sad, or it's not that I'm not going to the gym, or I'm not socializing because I'm sad. Could it be that I'm sad because I quit socializing, because I quit going to the gym? So really, always flipping the script. And so instead of waiting for something to happen in order to do better. And better things will happen.
Is there anything that you'd like to add that I've missed?
I think a network really helps. I set up a solution-focused school counseling Facebook group. And so, that seems to be real helpful. We're sharing ideas, we're sharing tips. I share some of the demonstration videos that I do. But the more that you watch it, the more that you practice it. And also, by the way, the more that you read. I just went back in the last few years and started reading all of Steve DeShazer's original stuff in the 70s, and Sue Kim Berg as well. And I was amazed at just the little nuances and tips that I picked up, even after all these years. And so I would say keep reading, keep watching, keep practicing, and then keep talking to each other about it. And you just keep getting better at it.